In this video, I would like to show you the items you should have in the lab kit that you purchased and go over how to set up your weather station, which you'll be using each week for lab. You can find a document online that lists the materials that you'll need each week and what materials can be found in your lab kit and what materials are household items. Your lab kit should include the following items: 3 glass thermometers, a protractor, a hygrometer, a wind vane, another thermometer, a pressure gauge or barometer, a weather station booklet, a Sling Thermometer, and of course the manual. To take measurements using the barometer, first step is to make sure to calibrate the barometer using the instruction manual. Once you do that, there are a few things to note. The center has a dial you can move, which is helpful to be able to determine the 3-hour pressure trend. So you would line it up with the current pressure, and then 3 hours later, come back and see how it's changed. The numbers you're reading are going to be HPA, which is going to be the outer numbers around your dial. Those are going to be the pressure readings that you're going to take. And it's going to be wherever the black arrow is pointed to. For taking measurements with a hygrometer, you're going to be reading off wherever this black arm is pointing to, reading the numbers off of the dial. So for instance, right now, our humidity is 30%. So next is the Sling Thermometer, which will come in individual pieces, which you'll need to assemble. One of the 2 thermometers gets cotton attached to the bottom. You'll take the 2 using a screw in the kit and attach it to the top. Note how easily this comes on and off. You'll want to be very careful about that while you're using it. You'll get the cotton wet, spin it for 3 minutes, and then read the temperature off of the wet bulb with the cotton, and then the dry bulb, the one without. So this is both the wind vane and also what you'll use to measure precipitation. So when this is outside, you're going to want to make note of which direction north is in. So as this sits outside, as the wind blows, it will move the dial around. This is telling you the direction the wind is blowing. When you read it off, it's going to be telling me the direction the wind is coming from. So it's the opposite direction that this is pointing. The wind speed, this little flap will move with the wind. Now, wherever it sits most of the time, that's going to be your average wind speed. And then when you see the gusts, that's the highest point that it reaches. That's what you'll read off of the side here. And you'll note that it has different units here which correspond to the various numbers that go across. When it comes to precipitation, there's this little glass tube with numbers on them. It reads off in 2 different units, so make sure you check that in your instruction manual to make sure you're recording the right units. If this fills all the way to the top, when you're making your measurements, there's a little dial across the side where you can change it to what you've recorded so far and move it across the side and add up your totals throughout the day. There is a thermometer on the weather station. This is going to be placed out in an exposed area, so this thermometer is not the one you want to use to measure the air temperature. You want to use this thermometer in the shade to take your measurements for air temperature. The weather kit does have instructions for setup, so be sure to check those out. For the thermometer, you want to pick an area that is shady. For the rain gauge and wind vane, an area that is clear overhead to better catch rainfall and relatively open to avoid any wind obstructions. If it's a season for snow and you live in an area where snow is possible, I suggest marking the station with a longer stake to locate if the snow is too deep or if you place it somewhere where it can be buried. If you do get snow, the standard is to measure the depth every 6 hours, clearing the area after, since the snow will compact, giving you a more accurate quantity if you clear that snow. Other items in your kit can be brought in and out each week to take your measurements, such as the hygrometer, the psychrometer, etc. You just need to make sure to let the barometer and hygrometer adjust outside before taking measurements. At any point, please contact me with questions.